What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sports Degenerate Podcast. We got another starts of the week for week 3. If you are new to the podcast, the way we do this, I give you one player for each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. One player each that I think can help you win this week. And these guys are not must-start players. It's not players like Saquon Barkley and Devontae Adams. These are all fringe players. So the criteria I use for quarterback, it's a player ranked outside the top 12 on Fantasy Pros. Running back, same thing, outside the top 12. Wide receiver, outside the top 20. And tight end, outside the top 12 on Fantasy Pros. So that's the criteria I used. A quick recap of how we did last week. We went 2 for 4, which isn't great, isn't terrible. The quarterback I gave you was Baker Mayfield, and he hit. He had over 20 points. The running back I gave you was J.K. Dobbins, also a hit. He had over 20 points. Terry McLaurin was the wide receiver. Didn't do so hot, under 10 points. And Colby Parkinson, also not great, under 5 points. So 2 for 4, not the best. Let's try to go 4 for 4 this week. Let's hop into it. Let's start off with quarterback. Like I said, this player is ranked outside the top 12 on Fantasy Pros. We got Derek Carr this week, man. He's had over 25 points in both games, and the Saints offense has looked unstoppable. Surprisingly, looked like one of the best offenses in the league. At this point, I think you just got to keep trusting this offense until they prove us otherwise. I think you just got to ride it out. And the Eagles really haven't been that good of a defense. They have allowed over 20 points in both games to quarterbacks. Week 1, Jordan Love over 20 points. Week 2, Kirk Cousins over 20 points. So I think Derek Carr is a top 12 quarterback. Even though he's ranked outside the top 12, I would start him as a top 12 quarterback. Lock Derek Carr into your lineups for week 3. We'll go to running back next. This player is also ranked outside the top 12 on Fantasy Pros. We got Tony Pollard for week 3, man. He has looked great. He has looked like his old self so far. He has had over 15 points in both games, and he is the clear number 1 running back ahead of Tajay Spears at this point. So we know he is going to get volume. He's had at least 15 touches in both games, and now he goes to the Packers, who really don't have a great run defense. They have allowed over 15 points in both games. In week 1, Saquon Barkley had over 30 points, and last week, Jonathan Taylor had over 15 points. So I like the matchup. I like the talent. Lock Tony Pollard into your lineup for week 3. Let's do wide receiver next. This player is ranked outside the top 20 on Fantasy Pros. We got Rasheed Shaheed this week, man. He has been on fire. He's had over 15 points in both games. And now he plays the Eagles, who have allowed over 15 points to 3 wide receivers already this year. Darnell Mooney and Drake London both had over 15 last week. And in week 1, Jaden Reed had over 15 points. And it's the same thing I said about Derek Carr and why Derek Carr is my start of the week for quarterback. The Saints offense has been great. They have looked like one of the best offenses in the league. At this point, you have to keep trusting this offense until they prove us otherwise. So lock and load Shaheed into your lineup for week 3. Let's end with tight end. So this player is ranked outside the top 12 on Fantasy Pros. For week 3, I have whichever Dallas tight end that plays. Either Jake Ferguson, who's the starter, or his backup, Luke Schoonmaker. So Ferguson got hurt in week 1, so you kind of have to check the practice reports. But even if he doesn't play, I'm totally fine with Schoonmaker. We have seen year in and year out, Dak loves throwing to his tight ends. So whoever plays is always fantasy relevant. There's always a safe floor of around 4 to 5 catches every week. And in that Dallas offense, there's always upside for a touchdown. So I think whichever Dallas tight end that plays is a solid play for week 3. So that is the starts of the week for week 3. Let's try to go 4 for 4. Like always, if you have questions about betting, about fantasy, comment on the podcast, comment on the YouTube video, or DM me on social media. I always love helping. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love all of you.